Hi, welcome to Absolutely Fabulous. My name is Gillian Fennell, also known as Station Mum 101. I love everything about agriculture, especially the people and especially communicating about what makes Australian ag so special.
And I'm Katja Williams, a beef, cattle and cropping farmer, and I love all things ag, and I'm also known as the ultimate farm wife. Together, we are Absolutely Fabulous, and we are talking all things agriculture beyond the headlines.
And we can't wait to give our opinion to you, and we hope you enjoy it.
So let's get into today's episode. Welcome to another episode of Absolutely Fabulous. It's episode 71, and we are having another chat with Landcare. But before we jump into that interview, Gillian, we're both here in the studio. We were both there in the interview, but let's start off by saying you're back on farm. So tell us about what's happening on station.
I am at home, and not a lot, although I have been doing the medical chest audit, which is a remote area RFDS thing, and that's nearly done my head in today, to be completely honest. But it's done now, and if you are watching us on YouTube at the moment, you'll see a very different background around me because I'm in my bedroom trying to pick up the best internet. And the dogs have now decided to take up residence at the back door. So if you hear them scuffling, that's what's happening in the background. There's two dogs fighting in the just outside my door there. But anyway, I'm at home. Not much is going on, just catching up on all the bookwork, the washing, everything else that sort of goes by the way when you're not at home. So what have you been up to, Katja?
So because we're about to jump into a Landcare episode, I have been working on a junior Landcare group. So for our area, I've started a junior Landcare group, and our first initiative as a group in this area is going to be actually a 6-week program, after school program with our littlies. So we're going to be doing some reptile shows, some plant identification, some tree planting, some bushwalking, and a few other really cool activities during term 2. So if you are in my area and you're listening and you want to get involved, give me a shout out, send a message on one of the social platforms that's going to be running, with our local Landcare group in term 2.
Katja, do I need to go back and replay for you our episodes from the start of the year that said I'm not going to take on any more projects? I've got enough on my plate.
Well, technically this one was started over 12 months ago, and it's just taken us up to this point to be able to do it. So it's technically one of the jobs on the list that I wanted to get up and running and get ticked off.
All right, I'll let it slide this time, but no more things taking on, please, because if you get too busy, then I am just completely lost without you to organise me. So,
but apart from that, outside on the farm, we are waiting for the calving to start, heading into winter. So we do 2 lots of split calving here in our stud herd as well as in our commercial herd. So we're just waiting for that to start up for this season.
Yeah, you got to get your leggings back on because you got to get out and run after those calves and tag them as they hit the ground. So when you get your steps in.
Yeah, and I'll have to get some new footage because I have received my Not Just a Farmer tights from Layla McDougall, which have what's written down the side?
No farmers, no food.
No farmers, no food. And I'll also be wearing those to the gym now that it's getting quite cold. I'm going to start heading to our heated gym in town, so I'll be sure to wear those as well.
I wear yoga pants quite a lot. I don't do any exercise or go to the gym though. I just wear them because they're comfortable. I do ride in them though. So if I go horse riding, I do wear my tights rather than jeans because they are far much more comfortable and a lot stretchier.
Mm. I found when I was riding in jeans, I'd have to wear stockings or something underneath to stop some blistering or some bruising along the seam lines. But I have also been told that that's probably the style of jean that I'm wearing is probably incorrect for that.
Yeah, I couldn't be bothered really getting too wound up in it. I just get on the horse in whatever I happen to have on at that moment, change my shoes, obviously, to riding boots. But other than that, I just go as I am. Because I'm only doing it for fun. It's not like I'm very good at it or do it very frequently either. So, yeah. All right, let's introduce our special guest that we have today.
So, Gillian, let's jump into today's interview. And we are here with Melanie. Melanie, can you please introduce yourself?
So I'm Melanie Cooper. I'm a local Landcare coordinator for the Wedding District, which is down in Grenfell in the central west of New South Wales. I've been a Landcare coordinator in the current program for almost 7 years now, but I have been in the Landcare space or natural resource management space for over 20 years now. So yeah, a bit of an old hand and also a farmer in the local district. So that's, yeah, combining my two passions, Landcare and farming. So yeah.
Because I was going to ask that, Mel, if you did like have an agricultural background before you got into natural resources management, or did it come along at the same time? Are you from a farming family? What kicked off your passion for Landcare?
So I grew up on a farm on the eastern side of Grenfell, and yeah, went through high school at the local high school. I went off to uni and studied environmental science at university. But I guess I first got introduced to Landcare via my father, who was, quite progressive in some of his methods in agriculture. And I think I went along a bus trip one time with him when I was in about year 11, and yeah, cruising around the district looking at different farms, and did some work experience with the local Landcare coordinator at the time in about year 10. So yeah, I guess that's where it started, and then through university and doing all the different research that you do through that, and yeah, dealing with soils and vegetation and water, just continued on and was lucky to jag a role in the Landcare space straight out of university. So went from there and then have worked through a few different government organisations with national parks and catchment management authorities and local land services. But yeah, after having kids, found my way back to the beautiful space that is Landcare, back down in the grassroots where the action happens. And yeah, it's really good to be back in this community role again. So yeah.
I love that, absolutely. And today we're talking about land rehydration, and you've been doing some workshops on that. So tell us, what is it? Why did it come about? And then tell us a little bit about the workshop.
Yeah, okay. So we held a landscape rehydration field day with Mulloon Institute. So landscape rehydration is, I guess, about making the most of every drop of rainfall that you get on your property, on your farm, and even trying to influence the small water cycle on your farm to hold more water in the landscape and allow that landscape to rejuvenate, to productivity on the farm to increase, rehabilitation of creeks and waterways, gullies, prevention of erosion, all that sort of thing, to try and keep the landscape as healthy as possible, I guess, to support both the natural ecosystem and also the ecosystem of farming. So the workshop that we had, the field day, has come about as part of a project that we're running with Landcare over 2 years. It's called Over the Fence, and it extends on the concept that, I guess, great ideas and practice change often results from the conversations that farmers have over the fence. And when farmers, get the opportunity to look beyond the farm gate and talk to experts and other farmers about what they can do to improve their practices. So as part of that, we're holding a series of field days along with bus trips and training events, and even creating some visual stories to demonstrate, I guess, the viability of various climate smart farming methods in a local context, and just help facilitate those conversations between farmers and get some action happening on farm. So you can't get much more climate smart than trying to, retain water on farm and make the most of that. So that's where we've brought in the experts from Mulloon Institute to look at some practical solutions and help combat that drying and even heating landscape. So yeah.
Is this using some of the research and type of methods that Peter Andrews sort of first brought in around, was that about the 90s?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Mulloon Institute was founded on some of that knowledge from Peter Andrews, and then they've since taken that. They have a a big demonstration farm down south, which was funded by a philanthropist. And yeah, it's gone on to become this incredible organisation and further develop those methods initiated by Peter Andrews and, with natural sequence farming and that sort of thing, to develop their own particular set of, I guess, a toolkit to help farmers in particular address, those chain of ponds on farm and, just rehabilitate the landscape with water, basically.
So have you had many, I really love the over the fence concept, because you're right, that's farmers, we're pretty reluctant to take up new practices, I guess, unless we see it being demonstrated first, because any sort of practice change might impact our bottom line and our productivity. So we want to make sure that it is actually going to. That's where sort of people like Peter Andrews are that's why he was called a bit of a lunatic, because he was doing all these things and people are like, mate, you're doing it all wrong, it's going to mess up. But he had the conviction and he went ahead and did it anyway, and then could demonstrate through actual practice that these things, could benefit the landscape. So you're seeing many producers, they're a bit shy usually. Do they get a bit involved? And do you see, have you seen any of them take those learnings away from the field days yet and start building leaky weirs and those sorts of things?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Through this project, one of the things that has definitely stood out is that the greatest value is coming from those conversations between farmers, often in the tea breaks or the lunch breaks. And we have tried to incorporate several farmers into most of the field days that we've had and give their perspective, just to balance out the theory, which is often provided by the experts, with practical application provided by the farmers. And so in this case, for the field day that we just had, it was on a local property owned by the McAlpine family. And Alex McAlpine has been a member of our local grazing group for some time, and he's taken some incredible leaps towards rehydrating his farm by doing things like optimizing plant growth and ground cover with well-managed perennial pastures and cover crops, improving his soil health through organic matter retention and zero till, and then doing on top of that some additional works to address active erosion and restore his creeks. So he certainly had some great sites for us to look at on the day and was able to speak to them and what he's done. It was just an introductory workshop, this one. So Mulloon generally run a series of workshops, and this was the introductory workshop. But they certainly gave us, a little bit of the theory component, but a lot of the day was outside and looking at practical solutions that, just some simple little cost-effective methods that farmers can do, go home and do, or just trial, like pretty low risk sort of things, because there's a lot that can go wrong when you start stuffing with water and trying to, manipulate how it moves through the landscape. And this isn't so much manipulating, how it moves. It's trying to just restore the natural, function of water in the landscape. So, there was certainly some very simple, low cost and low risk solutions that people were able to take away and, could go and try on their farm. But then, we are hoping to source more funding to be able to continue on and really dive a bit deeper into this topic for those that attended this field day, take them to the next level, which is a more practical and more in-depth knowledge of how to build some of these structures. And, we did touch on the regulation side of things as well, but, a little bit more into that and what you need to do on your farm to make these things happen in a legal way as well, so that it's all above board, I guess.
We have, Mel, a mixed audience of farmers and those from townships. Where we usually work with the podcast is bridging that urban and rural divide. So for someone who isn't from a farming background like the three of us, and they're wanting to get involved in land care, they're wanting to get involved into these projects because what they've heard is, engaging, and quite often us as farmers are already sort of partly engaged in land care. Where would you suggest they go to find the information about the field days and the toolkits, and how do they get involved?
Absolutely. So for this particular topic, Mulloon Institute is one of the leading organisations in this space. So you can certainly head to their website.
We'll link that in the show notes.
We will link that in the show notes.
Yeah, you can head to the Mulloon Institute. Their webpage is mallooninstitute.org. If you want particular information on landscape rehydration, and they have a page there with all the events that they're holding. They hold events nationwide. So yeah, try and jump on the, across the state. I think there's a few more this year. So yeah, jump on there. For Wed and Landcare though, you can head to wedandlandcare.com.au where you can find out more about the field days that we're holding as part of the Overfence project and other things that we've got on. Yeah, and also touch base, join our e-newsletter. Every month we send out full of what upcoming events and projects and, a few fun facts as well. And it's not just our events, it's across the board of everything that's happening in our district in the NRM space. So that's a really good one to get onto. For this particular workshop, we also partnered with Central West Local Land Services, who helped us in funding the travel component of the project, and they're another great source with local officers able to come out on farm or to your property, whether it be a small or large holding, to provide advice and information on what's going on in your property, particularly in the management of erosion and water. So yeah, they're another good one. Wed and Landcare, we can also come out and provide some interim advice as well. So please get in touch with us. I work with another coordinator, Claire, and we share the role part-time. So we operate around the Grenfell district. So you can check out what we're up to either via the web page or Facebook or Instagram. Yeah, we've always got a lot happening, both for farmers and in the urban space as well. So I believe Claire is running an edible gardens tour at the end of April. So that's something for our urban listeners. Yeah, always plenty going on, and across the different generations as well. We do a lot with school groups as well as farmers. Even for this field day that we had just recently, it was great to see farmers or people from all generations, really, even some future farmers from the local high school. So really, really great to be able to share that knowledge and have that diversity of people as well in the audience, which creates greater conversation. So yeah, willing to do just about anything.
What I enjoy about the Landcare groups that sort of encompass towns and rural areas is the way they become a bridge between food producers and food consumers, because you're there with a common goal, like with a common purpose. So that value of we want to, rehabilitate the land or care for the land in the best way. And that can have some really productive conversations between, farmers and the struggles that they face, and, and also bring home to farmers that not everyone does hate us, because we love to get around with a chip on our shoulder, but when you're in a group of people and you share that same values, it's like, oh, there are people out there who value what I do and just want to support and help and I think that's sort of really refreshing for farmers to get engaged in as well. It's not just about us pushing out onto people who live in towns about how important we are and, thank a farmer for your next meal, all that sort of stuff. It's about acknowledging that there are people out there who want to help and support, and so that you don't feel so alone. I think that's a really good, Landcare is like a bridge between those two communities, and I think that's one of its core values, I think, is a really beneficial thing to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, farmers play a critical role in the health of the human race and the provision of, nutrient-dense, healthy, fresh food. So incredibly important, to not have that divide, I guess. And I get one of the projects that we are running at the moment is called the Grenfell Community Produce Project, delivering fresh food to our local food hall, because believe it or not, we are unable to access fresh food via food bank because of the remoteness of our town, which isn't even that remote. It's about delivering fresh produce to people who need it. So it's also been a really good project to raise the awareness there of the importance of having good healthy soils and plants and animals, which transpires into the food that we eat. So incredibly important to bridge that divide. And yeah, the more things we do and the more field days we hold, we're getting more and more new people along and people from all walks of life. So it's great to be doing that through these projects.
Well, for someone who started in Landcare, followed a different career path and then came back to Landcare, what is one thing that definitely stands out for Landcare as an organisation itself? And then why does the land rehydration, why is that so important for you personally as well?
I guess Landcare as an organisation, I guess one of its critical aspects is the network that it can bring. Yeah, often people come to us and ask us a question, but if we don't know the answer, our neighbours in the next Landcare district or the partners that we partner with, there's an incredible network across the state and across the country of land carers who are able to, help with that problem. And and being a not-for-profit, community-driven organisation, we're able to be quite reactive to that and act on things, nearly instantly. Someone will come in with an idea and we'll go, oh, yeah, that sounds good. We can just about do that tomorrow. Yeah, so we're not sort of held up by red tape or anything like that. So, yeah, we can be quite reactive and proactive, I guess, to make things happen, at a community level. So that's the beauty of Landcare, I think, as well as the diversity, as we've just talked about, covering all bases there from the urban to the farmers and beyond. Yeah, and personally with landscape rehydration, incredibly important. As we know, climate is becoming more and more variable and unpredictable. So whatever we can do on our farms to sort of buffer that and, remain productive, but also be rehabilitating our landscape at the same time. Yeah, this is definitely a key component of that. So, I guess I'd throw out to the funders of the workshop and thank them for contributing. So the field day was funded by the Australian government through the Climate Smart Agriculture Program through the Natural Heritage Trust. So a great program that is, contributing more and more knowledge to what farming practices will survive going forward in a very unpredictable climate. So.
What do you want to tell our audience, Mel, about Landcare? If they're listening to this, what is the one thing that you want them to take away from listening to the podcast? It's your chance now to convert them all into mad Landcare followers.
Yep. Yeah, I guess Landcare is a really inclusive space. It's the beauty of these field days and things that we've been holding is going back to the core of Landcare, which was also about social connection and farmers getting together with farmers to tackle problems on a catchment basis. It really goes to the core of what Landcare was founded upon. So I think everyone in that catchment, whether they're living in town or on a farm or going to school or even up at the nursing home, we're so inclusive, and that we need to be, because everybody needs to be involved to make things happen and start to get things happening on that catchment scale and through the circular economy and things like that. Everybody needs to be involved. So the more people that we can get involved in our events and our projects, the better, and everybody is welcome. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity where Landcare runs so many events that people can jump onto. Often they're low cost or free, which is another beauty of our events. And have access to some really great resources and expertise in not only the presenters but the other people that are there in the audience. So those conversations that are happening over the cup of tea, it's really valuable stuff and really supportive as well. If you're a farmer and you're on a bit of a journey or on a bit of a mission to tackle a problem on your farm, there's no one better to hold your hand than another farmer who's been through it or can understand the problem. So I think getting together as groups of farmers, with a few experts in the mix to help guide them. Yeah, it's really, really important, and that's where Landcare can be of great benefit.
Well, you've convinced me. Not that I have an opportunity to join a Landcare because where I live doesn't exist. But and no, don't say I can start my own because I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
But hopefully some of our listeners have heard and they will be convinced to at least check out what their local Landcare is doing and perhaps hopefully get involved as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming and joining us here on the podcast this week. Anything that has been mentioned will be linked in the show notes below. Mel, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was a really good conversation, wasn't it, with Mel? I always love when Landcare workers or Landcare people, whatever you want to call them, have a farming background, because I think that makes their practices and the way they interact with farmers a lot more practical and driven towards the hands-on, because they are us, they know us. It's, and I love the way she was speaking about how it was that social connection, because that's how Landcare started. It was farmers in the catchment wanting to come together to get that social connection. And now it's just expanded to fit in, everyone who has the same values and wants to see the same things happen. So I thought that was a really, really good chat we had.
I loved the connection with the community and the urbanisation, especially when we narrowed in on what her community is doing with the feed bank and the guys in town actually communicating with the farmers and using it as a whole system and a whole community base. I loved that, and I'm interested in the edible gardening space as well, which is really, really interesting. And I love how far it's gone from the hydration landscape that was Peter Andrews into what it is now with the institute behind it, and so much more research and data they've been able to input to be able to drive what it is that they're doing in their workshops that's really beneficial. And I love that Landcare is not short-term, it's long-term. Quite often we are talking about on the podcast about how people are not long-term enough in their thinking and their planning and what they're doing as a whole. Landcare as an organisation just really drives that home. They are here to stay. They've been here for ages and they're looking at that long-term impact, which I love.
Yeah, embedded in the community and community driven. So they work on projects that are important to community. And with an organisation like Landcare, that's how you do access money out of like the Climate Change Fund and those sorts of things, because, like we say it all the time, Katja, if you choose not to participate, you forfeit your right to complain. If you're worried about the type of projects that are being funded and being run, then go to Landcare and say, let's look at this. This is important to our region, to our catchment, to our area, our environment. And, they're very approachable people, like very sensible too. So just, get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. As I've mentioned previously, for everything we've mentioned in tonight's interview will be logged in the show notes below, so make sure you're checking those out. Any questions, you can contact Mel, you can contact Danielle, or you can contact Gillian and I. We are more than happy to answer questions. So until next time, have a lovely night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us on Absolutely Fabulous. If you've been listening along and enjoying all this content, which I assume you have, you've gotten this far, then you might also like Katja's other podcast. It's the Ultimate Farm Wife Podcast. And I'm going to play the intro for you right now. Welcome to the Ultimate Farm Wife Podcast. On this channel, we're going to be discussing all things marrying a farmer, moving to the land, and becoming integrated with a family farming operation. Whether you're moving to the farm for the first time or whether you're moving back into a family farming operation, we discuss the ins and the outs of all of it. So let's jump into today's episode.